The Queen is so beautiful.
What are you talking about?
The observation deck was supposed to be deserted. Lieutenant Kiera Nash double-checked the ship's crew roster, not out of trust, but because experience had taught her that official schedules were little more than polite suggestions. By standard galactic time, it was late, yet the soft hum of the station's energy conduits felt oddly intimate, almost like the ship was exhaling with her. She stepped lightly toward the central terminal, her boots whispering against the polished alloy floor. Light from the artificial stars above flickered in rhythm with the ship's core, a gentle, almost hypnotic pulse. Everything seemed calm, too calm. Kiera bent over the console, inspecting the interface panel. Alien symbols danced across its surface, glowing faintly, rearranging themselves like they were alive, like they knew she was watching. Her fingers hovered over the controls, hesitant, yet drawn forward. "Easy now," she muttered, voice barely audible, as if speaking louder would awaken something that didn't want to be disturbed. And then she heard it, a subtle shuffle behind her, almost lost in the hum of the station. She froze. The air had changed. There was presence. Not human, not quite alien. Something regal. Kiera's heart skipped a beat, but she forced herself to focus. She tapped a sequence into the console. Sparks of light cascaded along the conduits, revealing pathways of energy that seemed to hum with anticipation. It was mesmerizing, terrifying, and beautiful all at once. She could feel the ship acknowledging her, welcoming her, or maybe warning her. Her mind raced. She knew this section of the station wasn't just off-limits, it was legendary. Tales of the Queen's private quarters, of the ceremonial observation chambers, were whispered across fleets. No one entered here uninvited, and yet, here she was, alone almost. Then, without warning, she muttered under her breath, distracted by the shimmering panels. "The Queen, she's so beautiful." The words hung in the air, weightless, innocent, but dangerous. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the hairs on her neck stood on end. The hum of the conduits shifted tone. It wasn't just a shift in energy, it was an awareness. Kiera straightened slowly, and there she was. Not a shadow, not a ghost, but real, majestic, commanding, standing quietly just behind the main observation window, her gaze sharp, yet calm. The Queen herself, dressed in ceremonial robes that shimmered like liquid starlight, eyes narrowing ever so slightly at Kiera's careless words. Kiera's mouth went dry. Her brain scrambled for protocol, for excuses, for any reason she could give to explain the lapse. Nothing came. She was frozen, caught in a moment she would never forget. "Hold on, before we get into the real stuff. I want to know, what are you doing at this exact moment while hearing my voice? I love seeing your answers down below in the comments." The Queen's presence wasn't just intimidating, it was electric. Every flicker of light, every ripple of the energy conduits seemed to respond to her. Kiera realized something chilling. The Queen had been observing her all along, perhaps from the moment she stepped onto the deck. A laugh, quiet, almost melodic, drifted from the Queen's lips. Not cruel, not mocking, but a sound that carried centuries of command, of wisdom, and of secrets the galaxy itself didn't yet understand. Kiera's eyes darted to the console, trying to appear occupied, to avoid the inevitable confrontation. But the Queen didn't move. She simply watched, as if weighing Kiera's every thought before she spoke. Then the Queen's voice, soft, measured, but filled with authority, cut through the hum. "You really think you can speak freely in my presence?" Kiera's stomach turned. She hadn't meant to be heard, and yet she had been. And in that moment, she knew her life aboard the station, and perhaps her entire understanding of the galaxy, was about to change. Kiera's breath hitched. The Queen's gaze was not just sharp, it was alive, probing, as if it could read the tangled threads of Kiera's mind. The lieutenant forced herself to stand taller, though her knees quivered. I didn't mean. I was distracted," she stammered. The Queen's lips curved slightly, not a smile, but a recognition. "Distracted," she echoed, her voice carrying the resonance of a starship's engine reverberating through the hull. "Few are ever truly distracted in my presence. Most pretend to be." Kiera swallowed hard. She felt like a child caught in the observatory of a god. dwarfed by centuries of authority and silent expectation. But in the fear, a spark of curiosity ignited. Who was this queen really? What did she see that no one else could? And why had she appeared at this exact moment? The observation deck's panels pulsed brighter, reacting to the queen's presence. Streams of light traced intricate patterns along the walls, casting shifting shadows that made the station feel like a living entity. Kiera realized, with a thrill that bordered on terror, that the queen wasn't just a ruler. She was an extension of the station itself, a nexus of command, wisdom, and power. Kiera took a cautious step back. I apologize for my words. I meant no disrespect. Words are curious things, the queen said, tilting her head slightly. They carry weight far beyond intent. You've spoken aloud what others only dare to whisper. Curiosity, admiration, perhaps even fear. Yet you are here, alone, unprepared, and still, you touch the conduits. Kiera glanced at the terminal again. Her fingers hovered over the controls, suddenly aware that every action she took was being measured. Every pulse of light along the panels seemed like a heartbeat, syncing with her own. She had come seeking answers to a technical anomaly, but she had stumbled into something infinitely larger. The queen took a slow step forward, her robes shimmering with a gravity of their own, like starlight folding into the station's energy streams. "Do you know what this place represents?" she asked. Her voice was calm but unyielding, a gentle tide of authority that could crush or nurture depending on her will. Kiera shook her head, words failing her. "This deck," the queen continued, "is where the ship learns, where it chooses what to reveal to its crew. It has judged many, accepted some, rejected most, and now it has observed you." Kiera's heart pounded in rhythm with the conduits. She could feel a presence behind the panels, subtle, like a thought brushing against her consciousness. The ship itself seemed alive, sentient, aware, and it was observing her alongside the queen. A sudden spark flashed from one of the conduits. Kiera jumped, her eyes catching the intricate glyphs, glowing in response to her movement. The queen raised a hand, and the light settled, flowing gently like liquid metal along the walls. "Do you see now?" the queen whispered, almost to herself. "Every choice you make echoes through this place. Even a thought, even a murmur can resonate." Kiera took a cautious step closer, drawn irresistibly toward the console, despite the weight of authority bearing down on her. The alien glyphs twisted and shifted under her touch, forming shapes that hinted at knowledge she could barely comprehend. The queen's eyes followed every movement, patient, relentless, assessing. Then, without warning, the queen spoke again, softer this time. "Why did you come here alone, Lieutenant?" Kiera hesitated, caught between fear and the undeniable urge to speak the truth. I noticed anomalies in the energy flows, minor fluctuations. I was curious." The queen's gaze intensified. "Curiosity is a rare virtue," she said. "Few in your fleet pursue it without hesitation. Most obey, most comply. You observe. You question. That is why you are here. And that is why you may yet survive this encounter." Kiera's pulse raced. She realized she was no longer just a visitor. She was being tested. Not technically, not officially, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally. And the stakes were unimaginable. A subtle vibration ran through the deck, a harmonic resonance that seemed to flow through Kiera's very bones. The queen's presence was magnifying it, shaping it, bending it like a maestro conducting the unseen symphony of the station. And suddenly, the lieutenant understood something terrifying and exhilarating. The queen was not merely a ruler. She was the station's guardian, its consciousness, its mind made manifest. Kiera's hand hovered over the console again, trembling slightly, but this time with purpose. She wasn't just a technician. She was a witness, a participant. The conduits pulsed in recognition, almost welcoming her touch. The queen stepped closer, and Kiera could feel the heat of her presence, subtle but undeniable. "You have spoken, and you have been heard," the queen said, her voice now carrying an edge of anticipation. "The next choice you make will define you far beyond this deck. Choose wisely." Kiera's fingers touched the controls. Sparks danced along the conduits, illuminating the Queen's features in sharp relief, sharp cheekbones, a gaze that seemed to pierce the very fabric of space. Every instinct screamed caution, but every fiber of curiosity demanded she act. Then the lights flickered, and a new glyph appeared, a symbol she had never seen before. It pulsed with a strange cadence, like a heartbeat synced to her own. And in that instant, Kiera realized that this encounter was far bigger than admiration or fear. It was a threshold, a choice that could change everything about her place in the galaxy. Her breath caught. She looked up at the Queen, whose eyes held both challenge and invitation. What does this mean? Kiera asked, barely above a whisper. The Queen's smile, subtle but knowing, was all the answer Kiera received. And then the ship shifted, its conduits glowing brighter, as if responding to a decision yet to be made. The glyphs glowed like tiny stars beneath Kiera's fingertips, their pulse in perfect sync with her heartbeat. Every nerve in her body screamed caution, yet she could not pull away. The Queen's presence was magnetic, almost gravitational, bending the very energy of the observation deck around her. "You feel it, don't you?" the Queen asked softly, her voice drifting like liquid through the chamber. The station, it listens. It judges. It chooses. Kiera swallowed, her mouth dry. I feel it. But why me? Because, the Queen said, stepping closer until the edge of her robe brushed Kiera's shoulder. Not many have the courage to speak truth in silence, to observe without fear, to marvel without expectation. Most would have stayed silent. Most would have obeyed protocol without question. You, her eyes softened, then sharpened. You are different. A shiver ran down Kiera's spine. She had always prided herself on competence, on technical skill, on discipline, but she had never been told she was exceptional. Not like this. Not in a way that made the hairs on her arms stand on end and her chest ache with recognition. The ship hummed, and the conduit shifted, glowing more intensely. Kiera realized with a jolt that the Queen's presence was more than ceremonial. It was symbiotic. She controlled the station as easily as she breathed, yet she didn't dominate it. She was part of it. The station's consciousness flowed through her, wrapped around her like a cloak of liquid starlight. Kiera's mind raced. What exactly was this place? Why had she been allowed, no, invited here? And what did the Queen want from her? Before she could ask, the lights pulsed in rapid succession. A sudden vibration rattled the floor. Panels flickered, and Kiera's pulse quickened. She realized the station itself was trying to communicate. Symbols shifted faster, forming patterns she had never seen. Shapes that hinted at histories, wars, and civilizations long lost. The Queen's hand hovered over Kiera's, just above the glowing glyphs. "Do you understand what you're touching?" she asked. Her voice was calm, yet every syllable struck like a ripple through the air. Kiera shook her head. "No, but I feel something. Power. Memory, intelligence." "Yes," the Queen whispered. "The station preserves knowledge, emotion, the essence of those who've walked its halls. And now it is aware of you." Kiera's mind spun. She had repaired damaged conduits before, analyzed alien glyphs, even navigated uncharted wormholes. But nothing in her career had prepared her for a living ship, or a Queen who was literally its heart. Suddenly, the observation deck shuddered. The energy conduits surged violently, casting brilliant arcs of light across the chamber. Kiera was thrown slightly back, but the Queen's hand steadied her. Her touch was light, reassuring, yet commanding. "You see," the Queen said, voice like the echo of a planet. "The station does not simply obey. It learns. It tests. It reflects. And it has chosen to test you." Kiera's fingers grazed the symbols again. They responded, bending and shaping like liquid metal. A vision flickered in her mind, vivid, immediate. She saw distant worlds, fleets of ships moving like schools of fish across the galaxy, and humans and aliens alike, reaching for understanding, for alliance, for survival. She gasped. The Queen's gaze bore into her. "What you see is only a fraction of what exists. And yet, you will play a role in it. The station has offered you a choice, Lieutenant Kiera, one that could alter the course of humanity's place in the galaxy." Kiera's chest tightened. She wanted to speak, to ask what that choice meant, but words failed her. The sheer magnitude of the moment pressed down on her, crushing yet exhilarating. The queen stepped back slightly, her robes rippling like the surface of a sunlit ocean. "Do you understand the gravity of what I am offering?" she asked, her eyes scanning the terminal, the conduits, Kiera's trembling hands. "Do you understand the weight of curiosity in a galaxy that fears it?" Kiera swallowed, trying to steady her shaking voice. I think I understand. You're offering me a chance to." She paused. The station pulsed beneath her fingertips as if it had heard her incomplete thought. "To make a difference?" The queen inclined her head. "Yes, but know this, the path will not be easy. Every step you take will be measured, every action reflected. The station tests not just skill, but character. And character, Lieutenant, is far more fragile than circuits or conduits." Kiera's heart hammered. She realized she had crossed a threshold. There was no going back. Not after speaking the words that had summoned the queen. Not after touching the living heart of the station. She was now part of something bigger, something ancient, something alive. A low hum filled the room, crescendoing into a vibration that resonated through every bone, every nerve. Kiera felt her mind expand with the pulse of the station, a terrifying and awe-inspiring sensation. And then the new symbol appeared on the console, glowing brighter than anything she had seen. It seemed almost alive, writhing with intelligence. Kiera's breath caught in her throat. This was no ordinary anomaly. It was a message, a test, a summons. The queen's eyes glimmered like twin stars. "Lieutenant, what will you do next?" Kiera's hand hovered over the glyph, her fingers trembling, and in that moment, she realized her choice would define not just her fate, but the future of the galaxy itself. Kiera's fingers hovered above the glowing glyphs, frozen in hesitation. The symbol pulsed faster, almost impatiently, as if urging her to make a choice. Every instinct screamed caution, yet curiosity, raw, insistent, human, pushed her forward. She had never faced a decision like this. This wasn't about circuits or protocols. It was about understanding, about grasping a truth far larger than herself. The queen's gaze softened slightly, though her presence remained magnetic, omnipotent. "Do you feel it?" she asked. "The station has watched countless lives, measured countless choices, but few have been offered what you see before you. Do you feel it calling to you?" Kiera nodded slowly, though she wasn't sure if the motion was for the queen or for herself. The pulsing light from the glyphs spread along the conduits, crawling up the walls like a river of liquid starlight. The energy in the room shifted, and Kiera could feel it brushing against her mind, whispering possibilities she wasn't yet ready to comprehend. "This is the moment," the queen said, stepping closer, her robes flowing like gravity-warped water. "Every life you've led, every choice you've made, has brought you here. Now you will see the consequences of one single action, of one single thought, and perhaps you will be tested." Kiera swallowed hard. "Tested?" she repeated, her voice trembling slightly. The queen's piercing gaze offered no comfort, only clarity. "The station reflects not only what is, but what could be," the queen explained. "It mirrors your mind, your heart, your intentions, and it will challenge you. Many fail, many falter, some transcend." A sudden vibration ran through the deck, and the glyphs flickered, forming a complex pattern she couldn't immediately decipher. It was as though the station itself had taken on a will of its own, reacting not just to her touch, but to her very thoughts. She felt her mind tugged in multiple directions. Visions of alien worlds, fleets navigating gravitational storms, the delicate balance of interstellar diplomacy, and human ingenuity striving against cosmic odds. Kiera's chest tightened. She had trained for emergencies, for crises, for situations that demanded split-second decisions. But nothing in her career had prepared her for this. She wasn't just interacting with technology. She was interacting with consciousness, with history, with judgment. The queen's voice broke into her thoughts. "Do you understand what you're touching? This is not a machine. This is legacy. This is intelligence evolved from centuries of observation, of trials, of survival. And now it watches you." Kiera felt a shiver. Every nerve ending seemed alive. tingling with the energy of the station. She realized the Queen wasn't simply observing her. She was amplifying the station's awareness, channeling its power in a form humans could perceive. Her hand finally trembled toward the console. The glyphs responded instantly, folding and twisting in a dance of light that left Kiera breathless. Images formed briefly, revealing moments of heroism, betrayal, wonder, and loss. Not hers, but the station's. And then, like a mirror, they reflected Kiera herself. Her doubts, her curiosity, her courage. The Queen's voice softened, almost a whisper. Do you see now? You are more than a technician. You are more than a soldier. You are a participant in the story of the galaxy, and every choice you make resonates far beyond this deck. Kiera's eyes widened as a vision overtook her. Fleets of humans and alien species working together to prevent a catastrophe that could have annihilated entire star systems. The station's energy pulsed with life, as if it were urging her forward, testing whether she could take the first step toward becoming a leader, not just a follower. Her mind raced. What do you want me to do? She asked, voice barely audible. She felt both infinitesimally small and infinitely important at the same time. The Queen tilted her head, a gesture both gentle and commanding. You must choose. Not for me, not for the station, but for yourself, and for all those whose fates will touch yours. You can retreat, remain silent, and risk losing the opportunity of a lifetime, or you can step forward, embrace the challenge, and see how far curiosity and courage can take you. Kiera's heart pounded. The glyphs glowed brighter with each passing second, urging her to act. And then, almost imperceptibly, the station's hum shifted again, a new frequency, vibrating in harmony with her own heartbeat. She understood, in a visceral way, that the station was alive, that it had chosen her, and that the moment she acted, or failed to act, would ripple across stars, across civilizations, across history itself. She hesitated, caught between fear and exhilaration. The Queen waited, patient, unyielding, yet encouraging. Every second felt like a lifetime. Every heartbeat was magnified. Every decision carried weight she had never known. Then a sudden flash of insight struck her. This wasn't just about power. It wasn't just about skill. It was about humanity. Her humanity. The spark that allowed a single person to look at impossible odds and choose courage over safety. Curiosity over ignorance. Empathy over indifference. Kiera's breath hitched. She realized she was ready. Perhaps not fully. Perhaps not perfectly. But ready. The Queen's eyes softened, and a faint smile appeared, hinting at approval. Then, Lieutenant, she said, her voice echoing like starlight. Show me what it means to choose. Show me what it means to rise beyond expectation. Kiera's hand finally touched the glowing glyph, sending waves of light surging through the conduits. The station trembled, alive, aware, responding to her touch. And in that instant, Kiera knew she had stepped beyond observation. She had stepped into destiny. The moment Kiera's fingers pressed fully against the glowing glyph, the observation deck seemed to inhale. Light cascaded through the conduits in brilliant arcs, wrapping around her as if the station itself had recognized her decision. The Queen's presence was no longer just beside her. It was woven into every pulse of energy, every shift in the room's rhythm. Kiera gasped as a surge of images flooded her mind. Fleets navigating asteroid fields, alien cities perched on floating platforms, humans studying alien relics with a mix of awe and fear. Each vision carried emotion, triumph, sorrow, curiosity, and above all, the drive to survive and adapt. The station wasn't simply displaying data. It was teaching her, immersing her in the lived experience of civilizations that had risen and fallen across galaxies. The Queen's voice cut through the torrent, calm yet powerful. Every act you witness has shaped the galaxy. Every choice carries consequence. And now, you are part of this continuum. The station has accepted your curiosity. It has accepted your courage. But there's more to learn. Kiera struggled to focus, her mind spinning from the depth of information and sensation. More, what more? She whispered. The Queen stepped closer, her robes flowing like living energy. The station shows what is. I show what could be. To command curiosity, to balance courage with wisdom. That is what it means to rise beyond mere observation. That is the test. Kiera's heart raced. She had never been tested like this. Not in simulations, not in combat, not even during her most perilous missions in uncharted space. This was different. This was alive. And it demanded more than skill or knowledge. It demanded understanding, insight, humanity. The station pulsed again, rippling through the floor and walls. Symbols swirled in intricate patterns, faster now, forming a mosaic that Kiera could feel more than see. Each pulse resonated with her heartbeat, guiding her, urging her to act. She realized she had a choice. Let fear paralyze her, or step forward and engage fully with the living intelligence of the ship. You feel it, don't you? The Queen whispered. Her eyes glimmered like twin stars, reflecting both challenge and encouragement. The station listens, yes, but it also judges. It tests not only what you know, but who you are. Tell me, Kiera, do you trust yourself? Kiera's hand hovered again over the glyph. Doubt clawed at her mind, whispering caution. But another force, stronger, undeniable, pushed her forward. Curiosity, determination, the spark that had carried humans to the stars in the first place. She nodded just slightly. I trust myself. The Queen inclined her head, a subtle acknowledgement. Then we shall see how far that trust can carry you. Suddenly, the glyph shifted, splitting into streams of light that spiraled into the room. The energy was almost tangible, brushing against Kiera's skin and tugging at her thoughts. The Queen's hand hovered above the patterns, guiding the flow as though conducting an orchestra of pure consciousness. Kiera realized something astonishing. The station wasn't just alive. It was teaching her, testing her, shaping her. Every decision, every touch, every thought mattered. She was no longer a visitor. She was a participant, a student, and potentially a future guide of this intelligence. Her pulse matched the rhythm of the glyphs. Images of past heroes, humans and aliens alike, flashed in her mind. Some had failed spectacularly, their legacies lost to history. Others had succeeded, leaving footprints of progress that echoed across star systems. And now it seemed her legacy could begin here, in this quiet observation deck, under the gaze of a queen and a living station. The Queen's voice shifted, carrying a note of caution. Every action has a reaction, Kiera. Every thought has power. And while curiosity can unlock wonders, it can also bring danger. Are you prepared for both? Kiera's chest tightened. She felt the enormity of the moment. More than any mission, more than any battle she had ever faced. She nodded again, firmer this time. I am ready. The Queen's eyes softened, almost imperceptibly. Good. Then begin. Kiera's hand traced the intricate glyphs, and the conduits responded, cascading waves of light and energy. She felt herself connecting, not just to the station, but to the collective knowledge it preserved, the triumphs, failures, and raw experiences of countless beings. Her mind raced to process it all, yet she felt no fear, only a profound sense of purpose. And then, unexpectedly, the deck shifted. A new energy surged, a vibration stronger, more insistent than anything before. The Queen's gaze sharpened. The station senses an anomaly, she said, her voice tinged with gravity. A disturbance in the far reaches of our sector. Something that threatens balance. You are to see it and respond. Kiera's pulse quickened. She had anticipated challenges, lessons, perhaps even tests, but not this. Not immediate action with consequences that could ripple across the galaxy. Her hand hovered over the glyphs, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. The Queen's voice softened, reassuring yet firm. Your first test is not theoretical. It is real, and it begins now. Kiera took a deep breath, steeling herself. The glyphs pulsed under her touch, alive with energy, knowledge, and expectation. She could feel the ship guiding her, the Queen observing, and her own courage demanding that she act. The moment of decision had arrived, and she could not turn away. Kiera's fingers hovered over the glyphs, trembling, yet determined. The anomaly the Queen had mentioned pulsed through the station like a heartbeat, subtle at first, then growing in intensity. She could feel the ripples of its energy through the conduits, like a stone tossed into an ocean. Each pulse carried information, danger, and an urgent invitation to act. The Queen's voice cut through the tension, calm but unyielding. It is not enough to observe. You must respond. The station will guide you, but you must choose how to act. Kiera inhaled sharply. She had trained for emergencies, for combat, for crises where split-second decisions determined life or death. But nothing in her career had prepared her for this. This was not just skill or protocol. This was intuition, courage, and understanding rolled into a single, impossible moment. The glyphs shifted beneath her touch, forming a pathway of glowing symbols that twisted and interlocked like a map of both thought and space. Kiera realized the station was showing her the anomaly's trajectory, not just its location. She could feel it pulsing across the galaxy, like an invisible predator hunting its prey. Her mind raced. If the anomaly reached the outer colonies unchecked, entire civilizations could be destabilized, or worse, destroyed. And yet the station's guidance was not a simple instruction. It demanded creativity, foresight, and moral judgment. Kiera's pulse synced with the glyphs, each beat sharpening her focus, sharpening her awareness of both danger and opportunity. The Queen stepped closer, her presence enveloping Kiera like starlight folded into the chamber's energy. Decisions define you, Kiera. Courage is only part of it. Wisdom, judgment, and empathy. They are tested here as well. Kiera's eyes widened as the anomaly's data unfurled in her mind. A complex web of energy surges, gravitational distortions, and temporal fluctuations, all converging in a pattern that defied conventional logic. The station had not just revealed the threat. It had made her a participant in solving it. "Commander Kiera," the Queen said, her tone both gentle and commanding. "The station has chosen you because you are not afraid to act where others hesitate. Now prove it. You must determine a solution before the anomaly collapses into the colonies. Failure is possible, but hesitation guarantees it." Kiera's hands moved almost instinctively, tracing the glyphs as they shifted, forming new symbols that felt like language and geometry at once. Information flowed through her mind faster than she could consciously process, yet she felt clarity emerging from the chaos. The station was alive, guiding, testing, challenging, and she had to act. A vibration ran through the deck, sharper this time, signaling urgency. The anomaly's energy intensified, flashing across the observation panels. Kiera's heart raced. She realized that this wasn't just about saving lives. It was about demonstrating the very essence of human ingenuity, the spark that allowed her species to survive countless trials across the stars. The Queen's eyes met hers, unwavering. "Do not overthink, Kiera. Let instinct and understanding work together. The station will respond, but the choice is yours. Will you act boldly, or will fear bind you?" Kiera's breath caught. Boldly, she had no choice. Hesitation was impossible. She could feel the pulse of the anomaly through her veins, through the station, through the very gravity of the chamber itself. She pressed her hand fully to the largest glyph, letting the energy course through her. Instantly, streams of light shot through the conduits, tracing arcs and curves in perfect precision toward the anomaly's path. Kiera felt herself immersed in the station's intelligence, understanding the subtle forces shaping the anomaly, predicting its shifts and reactions. She could feel its menace as clearly as her own heartbeat. Yet she also glimpsed solutions, paths that could redirect, stabilize, or neutralize the threat. Her mind raced to coordinate, to command, to act. And then she realized she was no longer just controlling the station. She was symbiotic with it. Every pulse of energy, every adjustment of the glyphs, flowed through her as naturally as her own thoughts. The Queen watched silently, her gaze steady, letting Kiera find the solution herself. Suddenly, a surge of energy threw Kiera back slightly, her hands skimming the glyphs. She caught herself, heart hammering, but she had understood the final step. Precision, timing, calculated audacity. The anomaly would not forgive mistakes, but neither would it withstand a decisive, intelligent countermeasure. Kiera steadied herself, placing her hands firmly over the glyphs. A beam of coherent energy shot through the observation deck, aligned perfectly with the anomaly's trajectory. The room vibrated, lights pulsed, and Kiera felt the weight of the station's consciousness lock onto her solution. And then silence. The Queen's voice broke through the quiet, soft yet resonant. "Well done, Kiera. You acted where hesitation would have doomed billions. You have passed the first trial." Kiera's chest heaved. Relief, exhilaration, and awe washed over her. The station's hum returned to a steady rhythm, pulsing as if acknowledging her success. Yet even in that victory, Kiera felt a shiver of anticipation. The Queen's gaze hinted at challenges yet to come. Tests beyond calculation, beyond courage, beyond human imagination. A new symbol appeared on the glyphs, glowing brighter than before. Kiera realized that this was only the beginning. The station had chosen her for more than immediate action. She was being prepared, shaped for a destiny that could span galaxies. And as she looked at the Queen, standing with calm authority, Kiera knew her journey had truly begun. Every decision she made from here on would carry weight, resonance, and consequence far beyond herself. Kiera stood in the observation deck, catching her breath, feeling the residual hum of the station vibrating through her very bones. The anomaly had been neutralized, at least for now. But the Queen's gaze lingered, intense, inscrutable. She wasn't celebrating victory. She was watching, measuring, and weighing Kiera's every reaction. "You did well," the Queen said softly, her robes flowing like a tide of light. "But do not mistake a single triumph for mastery. There's much more to learn, and the station, it has more to show you." Kiera's mind raced. She had felt the station's intelligence, its awareness, its almost human curiosity, but she still didn't fully understand it. The glyphs on the console pulsed gently, like a heartbeat slowing after exertion. She realized something extraordinary. The station was alive, yes, but it was learning from her as much as she was learning from it. Her choices, her instincts, her courage, they were shaping it. The Queen moved to the center of the deck, her presence commanding yet serene. "You have demonstrated bravery, but the galaxy is not won by courage alone. Knowledge, understanding, and empathy are the pillars of leadership. The station will now test you in ways that cannot be simulated or predicted." Kiera's pulse quickened. She had survived tests of skill, judgment, and instinct. But what could this knowledge and empathy challenge look like? She glanced at the glowing glyphs, then back at the Queen. The air seemed to thrum with anticipation. "Look," the Queen commanded, pointing toward a section of the observation deck Kiera had not noticed before. A doorway had formed from pure energy, shimmering like a living portal. "This is a reflection of potential futures, Lieutenant. Step through, and you will witness worlds shaped by choices you have yet to make." Kiera hesitated, her hand hovering over the threshold. The portal seemed to pulse with life, almost beckoning her. And yet, instinct warned her that once she crossed it, there would be no turning back, not entirely. This was a test of courage, but also of insight and moral clarity. She glanced at the Queen. "Am I ready?" The Queen's eyes softened, a fleeting smile touching her lips. "You will never feel completely ready. That is the nature of those who seek truth. But you have already demonstrated what most never do: the willingness to act, to risk, to engage with forces beyond comprehension. Step forward." Kiera inhaled, steeling herself, and crossed the threshold. Immediately, the observation deck dissolved around her. She was no longer standing on solid ground but suspended in a web of stars, energy streams, and distant planets. Time and space felt elastic. She could sense centuries unfolding simultaneously. The station's glyphs hovered in the void, forming constellations of potential events. Kiera saw fleets arriving too late to prevent war, civilizations crumbling from neglect, and heroic acts altering entire planetary systems. And then she saw her own influence, a single command, a single decision, altering outcomes in ways she could not have imagined. "This is what I mean by empathy," the Queen's voice echoed in her mind, though she could see the Queen standing in the void beside her, radiant and calm. "To truly understand the consequences of your actions, you must feel them, not just for yourself, but for all life connected to you." Kiera's stomach tightened. The weight of potential futures pressed against her consciousness. She realized that her decisions, however small, could ripple across the galaxy, shaping lives, civilizations, even the destiny of humanity itself. A flicker caught her attention. A world on the brink of devastation, a minor adjustment in its orbit threatening millions. Kiera hesitated. Should she intervene? Or let natural consequences take their course? The station pulsed urgently, urging her to act, but she also felt the Queen's subtle guidance. Understanding precedes action. Kiera focused, letting her mind synchronize with the station. She traced the glyphs, connecting cause and effect in her thoughts. Carefully, decisively, she adjusted the planetary energy flows, stabilizing the orbit. She felt the station respond with a surge of approval, a pulse that resonated through her core. The Queen's voice was gentle, almost proud. You see, Kiera, leadership is not about reaction alone. It is about insight, empathy, and the willingness to accept responsibility for the unseen consequences of every action. Kiera's heart raced. The void around her shimmered with infinite possibilities, each reflecting her influence. She realized the weight of her choices and the responsibility she now bore as both observer and participant. And then a sudden ripple of energy surged through the station, a warning, urgent and unfamiliar. Kiera felt the presence of a threat, distant but real, approaching the galaxy's outer sectors. The Queen's expression sharpened. Another test begins. This one will measure resolve, strategy, and moral courage. Are you ready, Lieutenant? Kiera clenched her fists, feeling the weight of the galaxy on her shoulders, yet exhilarated. I am, she said, her voice steady despite the enormity of the challenge. The Queen's eyes glimmered with approval. Good. Then let us begin. What you do next will echo across time, space, and the very fabric of humanity's story. The void pulsed, alive with possibility, and Kiera knew there was no turning back. Her journey had truly begun, not as a mere technician, but as a guardian of the galaxy, guided by the Queen and the living station itself. The void of potential futures stretched endlessly before Kiera, the stars and streams of energy flowing like a living tapestry. She could feel the anomaly that the Queen had warned about earlier, subtle at first, but growing in intensity, like a storm brewing on the edge of the galaxy. The station hummed beneath her, alive, aware, and now urgent. You must act, the Queen said, her voice echoing in the void. The anomaly threatens more than a single planet. It could unravel alliances, destabilize fleets, even force the galaxy into chaos. And yet, this is not merely a test of skill. It is a test of judgment and moral courage. Kiera's heart raced. She had never faced a challenge like this. Everything she had learned, the drills, the technical procedures, the simulations, was meaningless here. This was living consequence, intertwined with sentience, and the outcomes could ripple across worlds. She took a deep breath, focusing, letting the pulse of the station guide her instincts. The glyphs shimmered around her, forming constellations of possible responses to the anomaly. Each thread of light represented a choice, each path a consequence. Kiera reached toward one, and the moment her hand touched it, she felt a surge of information. Fleets diverted, colonies stabilized, lives saved. And yet, she also felt the weight of unseen consequences. Minor worlds destabilized, resources depleted, alliances strained. It is never perfect. The Queen's voice reminded her, calm but firm. Every action carries consequence. Your task is not to eliminate all risk, but to act with wisdom, insight, and humanity. You are not omnipotent, Kiera. You are human, and that is why the station has chosen you. Kiera's fingers traced the glyphs, letting her mind map the anomaly's path, predicting shifts in energy and gravity, calculating the smallest adjustments needed to stabilize multiple star systems. She felt the station respond, the conduits pulsing as though synchronizing with her thought processes. For the first time, she understood the Queen's lesson. Power alone was meaningless. It was the combination of intellect, empathy, and courage that defined true leadership. The anomaly shifted suddenly, a spike of energy racing across her mental map. Kiera felt a pang of fear, but she forced herself to remain calm. Her hands moved with precision, sending a cascade of light through the glyphs, altering trajectories, balancing energy flows, stabilizing fleets. The void pulsed in response, confirming that her actions were effective. but she sensed that the anomaly was not finished testing her. The queen stepped closer, her robes flowing through the void like currents of living energy. You are learning, Kiera, but the ultimate test is not strategy or calculation, it is resolve. Will you act when fear screams louder than logic? Will you stand when uncertainty threatens to paralyze you? Kiera's heart thundered in her chest. Fear had never been so palpable, nor stakes so high. Entire civilizations hung in balance. Every misstep could ripple across the galaxy, leaving death and destruction in its wake. Yet beneath the fear, there was exhilaration. She was alive in a way she had never been before, connected to the station, to the queen, to the very heartbeat of the galaxy. A sudden spike of energy flared in the distance, distant but powerful, as if the anomaly itself had become aware of her interference. The station vibrated violently, glyphs flickering with warnings. Kiera's hands moved instinctively, guiding energy, stabilizing flows, redirecting trajectories. She could feel her mind merging with the station's intelligence, her choices becoming part of a larger consciousness. You are not alone, the queen reminded her. The station is alive. It observes, it learns, and it responds. But it cannot act without your courage, without your insight, without your humanity. That is why you were chosen. Kiera felt the weight of responsibility settle upon her shoulders, heavy but empowering. She was no longer just a technician, no longer just a soldier. She was a participant, a guardian, a decision-maker in a web of consequences that stretched across stars. Every pulse of energy through the conduits, every flicker of glyphs, resonated with her own heartbeat. With a deep breath, she focused. She let intuition, knowledge, and empathy guide her hands. She adjusted, redirected, and stabilized with precision. Feeling the station pulse in affirmation, the anomaly began to slow, its energy dispersing in patterns she could almost predict, almost control. And then silence. The void stilled. The glyphs glowed softly, the energy flows normalized. Kiera stood trembling, but exhilarated. She had succeeded. She had acted where hesitation would have doomed countless lives. The queen's voice broke through the stillness, softer now, filled with something almost like pride. Well done, Lieutenant. You have faced fear, uncertainty, and responsibility, and you have prevailed. But remember, this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast. Challenges will grow more complex, consequences more far-reaching. And still, you have shown the spark of what it means to rise beyond expectation. Kiera's chest heaved. Relief, pride, and all washed over her. She had faced a trial that few could even comprehend, and emerged not broken, but transformed. Yet beneath the triumph, a flicker of anticipation lingered. The queen's gaze hinted at more tests to come, lessons she had yet to learn, challenges that could reshape her understanding of herself and the universe. For the first time, Kiera understood the queen's intent fully. The station was not simply a vessel or a machine. It was a teacher, a judge, a mirror of humanity's potential and its fragility. And she, Lieutenant Kiera Nash, was now a student, a participant, and perhaps a future guardian of the galaxy itself. Kiera stood in the observation deck, still absorbing the weight of what she had just accomplished. The anomaly had been neutralized, but the queen's gaze remained, sharp and unwavering. This was no celebration, it was a reminder. The galaxy was vast, and her journey had only just begun. You have acted well, Kiera, the queen said, her voice soft yet authoritative. But what you have done is a single moment in a continuum of choice and consequence. The station will now present you with a new challenge, one that is not about energy flows or planetary stability, but about the very essence of judgment and moral courage. Kiera's mind raced. She had expected tests of skill, of strategy, of courage, but morality? She had trained in leadership and diplomacy, yes, but nothing could prepare her for a trial where lives, civilizations, and the future hung in balance, and where the right decision wasn't obvious. The glyphs on the console shifted, forming patterns she had not seen before, symbols that glimmered with intention and meaning. The station hummed like a living being, pulsing in anticipation. Kiera reached toward the console, feeling the subtle tug of the station's awareness, guiding her hands. You must see beyond what is, Kiera. the Queen said, stepping closer. You must see not just the immediate consequences, but the ripple effects of your choices. To lead is to bear the burden of knowledge and empathy together. Are you ready to carry it? Kiera's pulse quickened. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and responsibility. But this was different. This was an engagement with morality, with the lives and fates of beings she could barely imagine. And yet, deep inside, she felt a spark, a conviction that she had been chosen for this moment because she could rise to the challenge. The deck shifted, and Kiera found herself no longer surrounded by panels and glyphs, but suspended above a holographic projection of an entire star system. Planets rotated slowly, ships moved like living organisms, and streams of energy threaded between stars like veins. A simulated crisis unfolded before her, a colonized world threatened by political upheaval and interstellar conflict. Kiera's breath caught. She could see the stakes, millions of lives, advanced civilizations teetering on the edge of collapse. Every decision she made here would echo far beyond the simulation. And yet, she sensed the station's guidance, subtle and persistent, urging her to act decisively. You will make a choice. The Queen's voice echoed. No action is without consequence. You must weigh the cost, balance the benefit, and act with both wisdom and courage. The station will reflect your decision and its effects. Are you prepared? Kiera nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and exhilaration. I am, she said, her voice steady, though her heart pounded in her chest. The holographic planets shifted, and Kiera began to see the patterns. Rebel factions were rising, alliances were fragile, and a misstep could ignite war across the system. She traced the glyphs, aligning energy flows and communication networks, subtly nudging diplomatic channels to prevent conflict. Her hands moved instinctively, guided by both intuition and the station's insight. The Queen observed silently, her eyes fixed on Kiera. You must also consider morality, Kiera. Not every choice that preserves lives is just. Not every action that prevents conflict is ethical. Can you act with honor, even when the easiest path tempts you otherwise? Kiera's mind raced. She could intervene in multiple ways, redirect resources to strengthen one faction, or manipulate the energy flows to suppress another. Each path carried immediate benefits, but unpredictable consequences. She felt the weight of the decision settle on her shoulders. This was not a simulation. The station made it real, vivid, and consequential. Her fingers hovered over the largest glyph. She took a deep breath, centering herself, feeling the pulse of the station merge with her own heartbeat. The solution was clear, not perfect, not without cost, but honorable. She aligned the energy flows to stabilize the factions, reinforce diplomatic channels, and subtly balanced the power dynamics. The holographic system responded immediately. Planets stopped trembling, ships aligned into safe orbits, and the tensions in the colonies eased. Kiera exhaled, relief mingling with awe. The station's pulse steadied, and the Queen's gaze softened just slightly, approving but reserved. You have acted with wisdom, courage, and empathy, the Queen said. Not perfectly, but nobly. That is the essence of leadership. That is what the station seeks to teach. And now, Lieutenant, you must prepare. The final trial approaches, a test not only of your skill, judgment, and empathy, but of your heart. Kiera's chest tightened. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and consequence, but the final trial? She could feel its weight pressing down, heavy yet exhilarating. The Queen's presence, the station's guidance, and the future of countless lives converged on this moment. And in that convergence, Kiera understood something profound. She was no longer a mere technician. She was a participant, a guardian, a catalyst for humanity's potential across the stars. And whatever the final trial held, she was ready to face it. Kiera felt the weight of the station's awareness pressing against her mind, like the gravity of 1,000 stars. The final trial awaited, a challenge she could not predict, could not prepare for, and yet had been shaping her for since the moment she first touched the glowing glyphs. The Queen stood beside her, serene, a presence that radiated both authority and trust. This is it, Lieutenant, the Queen said softly. The culmination of all you have learned. The station has shown you skill, courage, and empathy. Now it will test your heart. Are you ready to face what lies beyond observation and decision? To act where consequences are unknown, where every choice carries the weight of eternity? Kiera swallowed, her pulse thrumming with anticipation and fear. She had faced anomalies, crises, moral dilemmas, and cosmic consequences. But the final test was something else entirely. She could feel it in the air, in the conduits, in the living pulse of the station itself. It was vast, unknowable, and yet intimately personal. "I am ready," she said, her voice steady. Though her hands trembled slightly over the largest glyph, the station responded immediately, rippling through her body and mind like liquid starlight. The observation deck dissolved, leaving Kiera suspended above a panorama of the galaxy itself. Stars streamed past, planets rotated in delicate balance, and in the distance, she could see flickers of life, civilizations thriving, struggling, and evolving, each one a thread in a tapestry that spanned countless light years. The anomaly appeared suddenly, not a physical storm this time, but a wave of raw potential, a distortion of probability threatening countless worlds. It was a test unlike any she had faced. The station's energy pulsed, guiding her hands toward the glyphs, showing her patterns and possibilities. But the final decision could not be calculated. It had to be felt. It had to be chosen. Kiera's mind raced. She could see paths that saved lives, but left others vulnerable. Paths that prevented chaos, but disrupted progress. Paths that preserved order, but crushed individuality. The weight of responsibility threatened to crush her, but she remembered the Queen's lessons: courage, wisdom, empathy, and above all, humanity. The Queen's voice echoed in her mind. Choose not for glory, nor for ease. Choose for what is right, even if the cost is unknown. That is the measure of a true guardian. Kiera focused, letting instinct, intellect, and heart merge into a single decisive movement. She traced the glyphs, weaving energy flows in a pattern that balanced risk and safety, probability and consequence, freedom and stability. The station responded immediately, a surge of power that reverberated through the galaxy itself. The anomaly wavered, then dissipated. Stars shimmered brighter, fleets stabilized, civilizations shifted into harmony, and Kiera could feel the station's approval, almost like a heartbeat in sync with her own. She had acted not for personal gain, not for recognition, but for the fragile, beautiful potential of humanity itself. The Queen stepped forward, her eyes gleaming with quiet pride. "You have passed, Lieutenant. Not perfectly, not without hesitation, but with the courage, wisdom, and heart that the station seeks. You are no longer merely an observer. You are a guardian of humanity's story across the stars. You have risen beyond expectation." Kiera felt a surge of relief, awe, and exhilaration. The trials, the tests, the overwhelming responsibility, all of it had led to this moment. She realized she had changed irrevocably. She was no longer just Kiera Nash, technician and soldier. She was a participant in the living history of the galaxy, a beacon of curiosity, courage, and humanity. The station's glyphs pulsed softly, now in a harmonious rhythm, as if acknowledging her achievement. The Queen's gaze lingered on her for a moment longer, then softened. There will be more trials, greater anomalies, choices that may define not only humanity, but life across the stars. But you now have what is necessary: insight, courage, and a heart capable of guiding the station and your species through the unknown. Kiera exhaled, feeling the enormity of what she had achieved. She had survived the tests of skill, judgment, and empathy. She had embraced responsibility, made impossible choices, and acted when fear and uncertainty could have frozen her. She had become part of something larger than herself, something alive, intelligent, and eternally curious. A gentle glow surrounded the observation deck as it reformed around her. The Queen placed a hand on her shoulder. "Remember, Kiera, the galaxy is vast, the challenges unending. But your spark, your humanity, is what guides all that is living within this station. Do not forget it." Kiera nodded, feeling the pulse of the station beneath her hands, feeling the Queen's presence beside her, feeling the infinite possibilities that stretched before her. For the first time, She understood fully what it meant to rise beyond expectation, to act not for oneself, but for the countless lives and civilizations that depended on courage, insight, and empathy. And as she stood there, the galaxies shimmering endlessly before her, Kiera whispered, almost to herself, I will not fail. Not now, not ever. Humanity will rise. The Queen smiled faintly. Good. That is the heart of what we build together. Hold on. Before we get into the real stuff, I want to know, what are you doing at this exact moment while hearing my voice? I love seeing your answers down below in the comments. And if you've enjoyed witnessing Kiera's journey, make sure to like this video, share it with fellow HFY enthusiasts, and subscribe to HFY Soundscape for more stories where humanity rises beyond expectation. Every choice, every story, every moment, your curiosity is part of the adventure.